Hello, Internet. Welcome to Shifting Lanes Garage, the weekly live show and now podcast on two podcasting platforms at the moment, Spotify and Amazon Podcasts. I am Chad, and with me, as always, is the man, the myth, the legend, the Volvophile himself, Gregson.
Yes. Hello. Hello and welcome. And thanks for joining us. Also, two best podcasting platforms, because they're the only ones that have us right now. But when we get a third, it'll be the three best podcasting platforms. So no disrespect to Apple, but until you join the fray, you're just basic. Sorry.
How you doing, Greg?
I'm good. I'm tired. Freaking February is tiresome, but it's getting lighter out, which is really awesome. 5, 6 o'clock, and I'm like, ooh, it's almost spring when I can wash my car after the kids go down, and it's not literally looking like midnight outside. Excited for that.
Yeah, I'm excited to finally, actually be able to wash my car. I've been going to, the contactless car wash just to be like, all right, I drove, and there's 17 pounds of salt and road grime on my car. Wonderful.
Yeah, stop salting the roads. Mandate better tires. PSA. Yeah, I mean it's nice. It's nice around here that they do a pretty good job of clearing the roads, but it's not nice around here that they constantly salt and now brine the roads like a freaking turkey at Thanksgiving. You could just mandate better tires or just plow better, or I don't know. You don't need to salt and sand every 5 seconds, especially when it's just raining, which I've seen more often than not over the last 2 years. Like, we got to use the salt up. It's like, well, maybe you should have thought about that when you ordered so much salt that New Jersey doesn't get as much snow as it used to. So maybe think about that next time.
I don't know. Up where I live, I mean, granted, you live on the side of a hill.
Right.
And they weren't largely intelligent when designing your street. It's like, all right, the hill's here, the street's here. What if we had a 1.5-story rise? Okay, but where are we going to put the house? In the back of the property? Are you nuts? No, we're going to put it at the front. So these poor bastards need 6-wheel drive to get up their driveway.
Just the worst. Just the worst. Very stupid design. Agree. But it's fine. We persevere.
It'll do.
Good evening, Doug. Thank you for joining. And if you are listening, thank you all for listening on any podcasting platform that you are on. Listening to this, we love you. You're the best. And if you want, you can join our supporter group, which is on Facebook. It's called Shift Squad. If you go to our Facebook page, you can join it. Doug is part of it. That's why I said hello, Doug, because he is part of that group, and he is essentially our de facto mod in that group. So welcome, Doug, and thank you. And thank you for representing me in Valentine's Day. Appreciate that. If you're part of that group, you will have seen Doug wearing a piece of merch of my own face during Valentine's Day with his wife. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, how'd the shirt play, Doug?
Yes. Was it? Did it give you extra riz, or did you fail miserably? Did you just strike out?
Everybody was asleep at 8:30.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Saw that shirt and was just like, oh man, I'm really tired all of a sudden. I think I'll go to bed.
Female repellent.
No extra riz for Doug. Ooh, we have a new name I haven't seen before. Hello. Also, Sean, welcome back. I believe it's Janderson or Yonderson. Thank you for joining.
Well, given the amount of Volvo paraphernalia in your shot alone, we're just gonna go with the Norwegian Yonderson.
Yeah, Yonderson. Yeah, Janderson and or Yonderson. Please phonetically type out how we pronounced your name. That would be a huge help to us. And for those listening, it's Janderson. How would you pronounce that? But yeah, I was just talking to Chad right before we started. Like, how many Volvo different logos or badges or things could be in my shot? We have 1, old merch. 2, Volvo hat. 3,
Actual
I
Volvo.
did the same thing. Actual Volvo, but with the blue badge. So that's 3. We have the prancing moose up here. So that's 4, and then the shifting lanes thing up here. That's 5. And I guess if you want to count the car, that's 6. And then if you want to say 7 for the whole stream, Chad's merch that he's wearing on his shirt as
Totally
well.
unplanned, by the way.
Yeah,
So it's
totally unplanned.
Anderson with the
Exactly.
J. So
Janderson.
thank you for clarifying.
Very cool.
Um,
Very cool
I
name.
apologize if I'm yawning incessantly. It's not that Greg is, more boring than usual. It's that he yawned right before we went on, and that just triggers my yawning, and I won't be able to stop.
But we got a good show. We're going to talk cars because that's what we're here to do. That's the only thing we do here. I mean, we talk about other stuff, but we're mostly here for cars. I mean, Chad's been a friend of mine for a long time, but I mean, I'd rather talk about cars than Chad.
I'm not that in,
I know basically everything about you at this point.
I'm not
so
that interesting.
I'm good. So let's talk cars. What's new in your neck of the woods, cars wise, good sir? And then after we talk about our own stuff, we'll get onto some news because there's some interesting stuff going around, including the rumor mill.
The rumor mill. Ew.
Yeah, M5.
Oh, lame. Let's see here. Currently in the process of scheduling the Mustang to get the diff seal sorted, so she no longer weeps.
Nice.
Hopefully, I'll have new bumper scheduled by tomorrow. Figuring out when to get the work done on that, and then hopefully again tomorrow once I figure out body shop. Getting it into Ford to make the check engine light go off because I'm throwing a EVAPS code. It could be a bad sensor. The fuel filler necks, not the. So it's not like they can crack and all of a sudden it's leaking fuel into my trunk, or like the outer lining, because like might be cracked and that could be throwing a code. So just mostly fixing it, just because I want to be prepared for this upcoming spring, for all the shenanigans, possible road trips, etc.
Nice.
And then because winter can fuck right off. I'm quite over the 10-to-1 Chevy Equinox to Mustang drive time ratio that's currently on.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very fun. More Mustang, less Equinox, for sure.
Yeah, it does the job for this time of year, but it's also
True.
monumentally boring.
Yeah, true. But more Mustang things to come very soon in the spring for you, which is excellent. I just got my summer wheels powder coated, so I'm going to pick those up. So I'll have those on stream next week. The summer wheels being the OEM wheels for this, which is the Volvo V60 Polestar. If you're joining this podcast and don't know what I drive, which how in the hell is that possible? But yes, so that is what's new in my neck of the woods for this car. Nothing else really new. It's driving like a dream. Super reliable. Still sounds great. Kids love going in Daddy's fast car. So literally no complaints on this end. It's very, very good.
Daddy's fast car, adorable.
That's right. Yeah. Which I would feel more attached to it if the V70R wasn't also Daddy's fast car. So it's just, well, I think it's whatever I own at this point is just going to be Daddy's fast car. So even if I had like a Chevy Cruze and I floored it, they would be like, "Whoa!" That would probably be
Better
the
they
same
say
thing to
Daddy's
them at
fast
that
car
point.
as opposed to Mommy. Guess how fast Dad was driving.
Yes, that is a key distinction here.
But yeah, so let's see here. Just sorry, just trying to catch up with chat real quick. Anthony, welcome back. Out getting some meat at the moment. Be home soon, and then the moistness would be 100%. I don't know why, but like I just pictured that in like like a Game of Thrones castle, like
Yep.
type of.
Every time I hear mead, it doesn't matter who says it. All I think of is Renaissance Fair.
And I just like, alcoholic honey, delicious.
Yum. Drunk bees. Love it.
Janderson goes, I want another car, but this crazy overpriced market is a no-go. He wants a 2021 or 2022 Mach 1. Great choice. Hard to
Good car.
hard to go wrong with the S550 platform. Duh. Janderson, if you're new,
Gee, I wonder why, Mr. S550 Mustang owner.
yeah. As someone who owns one and has extensively modified it, it's a great platform. I mean, with that third gen Coyote, in those, you're an exhaust and a tune away from damn near 500 wheel, which is
Yep.
a lot of horsepowers, and they're a ton
Yeah.
of fun. And the Mach 1s have the added benefit of the T56 as opposed to the MT82. So if you decide to go boost down the line, you don't have to rebuild your entire transmission like I did.
True.
But yeah, no, that's a great choice. I mean, granted, I think someone just said $65,000 is crazy for a Mustang. Yes,
Well,
it's up there, but I mean, for a 2021 or a 2022, 65K, that's a lot of car for. I mean, the magnetological suspension, all the best bits of all the Shelbys minus the lack of a Predator.
right.
But that's easily rectified with a some form of compressed air device, which
Yes. Shove all the airs into that engine.
which coyotes take to like a pig to water. I mean, I have I mean, to our local viewers, they'll know. Or local, returning. There's the word I was looking for. They'll know that my Gen 2 is making, 705 at the tire. So they're extremely capable. And yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to do the math in my head. $65,000 is a lot for a Mustang. With purchase price of mine, I'm at 55 for car and parts. Probably close to 65 all in. So,
And you also have to remember that 65,000 right now is not that much for that amount of car. Like the average price of a new car is 45K. I think 43, 45. So you're talking about a 20K difference between a Camry or an Accord versus a Mach 1 Mustang. And, you can probably make a Camry or Accord very fast with an extra $20,000. However, it's not going to be a Mach 1 S550 Mustang that is, having driven many Mustangs, it is not the same. A Camry with 20 grand shoved in it, cool, probably will be fast in some form or another, but it's not the same. And I think a lot of people also say, oh yeah, well, it's just a Mustang. And I think that's probably part of the stigma that Ford is trying to shake with what they have been saying. Like we've been copying Porsche's, way to go with making the Mustang like the flagship. We'd go racing with it. Like that's the purebred sports car, and then everything else is just made after that. Porsche did that with the 911. That's their like race car, and all the GT series and stuff like that. And then, they still make Cayennes and Macans and stuff and make tons of money that way. So I think that's what Ford is going to try to shake over the next like decade or so, is the just a Mustang tag, because I think over the next 10, 15 years, the Mustang is going to turn into that sort of, halo sports car that Ford really that affordable halo sports car that they need. Like obviously Ford GT, Mustang GTD, those are not affordable, but neither are 911s right now. So like 911 GT3 RS is $250,000 to $300,000 out of the box at this point. So and that's essentially as close as you're going to come to a race car for the road from Porsche without having it like built as a race car from Porsche.
Without
So
buying, I don't
it's
a cup car.
right, exactly. So I think 65K for a Mach 1 sounds a little crazy, but if you calibrate your brain a little bit, then it sounds a little less crazy these days.
Michael over on Facebook is looking to go to war. Um, I'll take a Panther.
TRD Camry greater than Mustang.
Yeah,
Um, hard pass.
I mean,
Good car, not the same.
if you you know go to the gym and lift the pink weights and prefer front wheel drive, um, and then
I like Anthony's question. Why have a daily when you can have an advent calendar of shit boxes? See, Anthony's living in 3024 over there instead of 2024. That's big brain right there.
so he EV swapped all his stuff.
No, he's just big brain in it. You got to have so many cars that when one breaks down, you just figure out which one's working and then drive that. That's the way to go.
Oh Jesus! And then Michael
Yes.
also goes with, "I'll take the Panther platform over an S550 because yes, why take I mean, Crown Vics are cool. I'll give you that, but I mean,
Mercury Marauder for the win.
they're cool vehicles. Let's see, Sean.
They are sweet.
I want companies like Isuzu and Suzuki back in the U.S. market. Bring back the compact.
Uh, if we had a Jimny here, I would be so happy. I would probably buy one. They're so cool. Just a just a baby G-Wagon. It's the coolest thing.
Minus all the luxury.
Oh my gosh. I just saw Confe Maldonado liked the stream and I saw Maldonado and I was just like, "No, we're going to crash."
Pastor's cousin with actual vision.
Yeah. The good racing driver of the family.
Mike goes, I'm 6'2", 270. I don't fit in Mustangs. I mean, fair point.
Yeah, touche.
Credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Touche. All right, so I think we should maybe talk about some car news because there's a lot of cool stuff out there right now.
Go on.
And one thing I did was make a video on a tuner that took a 4-liter inline Jeep that I know Steve, who I haven't seen on the stream yet.
Steve is unwell and won't be joining us, unfortunately.
Oh, bummer. Well, Steve, feel better, man. I hope you feel better. If you do watch this later, just know we're sending you good vibes and well wishes. But Steve used to have I think it was a '99 Cherokee with the very famous 4-liter inline six, and they're known to be engines that do have some good longevity to them. But the tuners over at Newcomer Racing got a hold of one, I guess, from a customer, or just found one and wanted to do this. But I didn't really look into it that deeply. I just saw Jeep 4-liter with over 1,000 horsepower, and was like, yes, let's make this video. So the guys over at Newcomer Racing, they got a hold of a Jeep 4-liter. They bored it out to 4.6 liters. They have JE forged pistons in it. They have Edelbrock. They have an Edelbrock head, as I was corrected correctly in the comment section, because it doesn't have heads. It has head, because it just has one. And,
You figure the owner of a
then
straight
also-
six would know that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing this shit off the cuff, man. I don't have a script in front of me. But then also a 72 millimeter precision turbo, and a whole bunch of custom work. It's not like they just shoved this thing on. Like, if you look at this thing, it looks like built to the teeth with goodies, and it is crazy that they built it up and they got almost 400 NA horsepower out of it, which is pretty good. Then they did a boost run, got 813 out of it, and then did another boost run and got 1,082. And then it started to kind of break up and run lean a bit. That was at 27 PSI. So it is properly powerful. And I did not think that we had a 4-liter Jeep engine making over 1,000 horsepower on the 2024 bingo card. Yep, here we are.
I mean, what is the size of the rock they're trying to climb?
I don't know, but I'd like to see it. Maybe this is the engine that goes to Mars and tries to climb Olympus Mons.
Without any oxygen, that's going to be that'd be an interesting feat.
Shh, details.
No, I mean it's pretty freaking awesome. I was perusing the article you sent, and I was trying to find, what the plan was for this engine. I'm guessing just because it's methanol and all this other stuff, it's gonna be and the way it's built out, a drag racing engine.
I think so.
Which
I mean,
I think is
to me that seems like the natural progression here.
which I got to admit is pretty hysterical. Like you guys roll up, they got their LSs, your big blocks, your Coyotes, your blah blah blah. The guy's like, "Ah, don't worry, it's just a Jeep engine," and then you hear the turbo spool.
Yes. I see, like, this is, if we get enough money, this is sort of like one of my dreams, is to take some totally obscure engine. And this isn't like an obscure engine, but it's an engine that you like really would not expect this at all, right? And just make it totally nuts. Push it to its limits. Get as much like building as you can to it, and like just see what I mean. You shove a turbo big enough on anything, it'll make power. It's just, is it gonna throw a rod through the block? Is the question. So,
Wait a minute.
I really, what?
No, I'm just looking at.
What's
I'm
wrong?
just looking at this engine. I did not realize the engines had Siamese heads. So the intake and the exhaust are on the same side.
Oh.
RIP intake temps.
Interesting.
Guess that's why it has to run alcohol. If you're pushing that. But
Yeah. I mean, but I really want to do this just to like roll out exactly what you're saying, like roll up to the strip and then just beat on everything.
I just want to take this and like have someone come up with like a Barra, be like, I got that big 6. Oh, do you now? It's just a Jeep engine.
How about this 4.6 liter inline 6 that does 1,000 horsepower? Well, let's see what happens
with
here.
With a cast intake manifold, and it's carbureted. Like
Yeah, and it's carbureted, which is the craziest. It's just it's this engine is awesome. It's just weird and quirky and awesome.
No, look. I'm as big an engine nerd as they come. I saw this and I was like, ooh, let me just get through the next 2 days worth of real content, and Greg's already posted. Damn you.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you had it in the hopper.
Like I said, I'm a big fan of this stuff. I'm a big fan of like race shops. We've done videos on 1,000+ cubic inch, biggest of the blocks, V8s.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the Mercury Marine QV, the quad cam that started life as an LS and then just kind of became its own thing. All the way down to Thor, the 4-liter, like that one's still insane to me. A 4-liter, 4-cylinder, that's just mind-boggling. I'm doing another one of their engines soon. I love nerding out on engines. I like the idea of, taking an engine that you don't think, because like, let's face it, that engine was designed to be torque first, horsepower eventually. And now it's making more horsepower than torque. Very, very high output. But I mean, here's the thing, right? You see it with 2Js, you see it with red blocks in Volvo. You see it if they got you would see it with like LSs when the guys start pushing like crazy huge horsepower. Those cast iron blocks, if you put the right attention to them, give them fuel, give them air, give them the right cylinder head pressure, it will make an obscene amount of power.
Yeah. Which is cool. I like obscure engines making power like that. It's just interesting. So we're gonna, well, yeah. I think this is what we're gonna do from now on. We're gonna do like 5 minutes of talking about these things and then move on. But if you want to know more about this engine, you can always go to the Drive, which is the what is that?
That's the K-Tech LS based four cylinder that Michael's asking about.
Ooh,
And
nice.
K-Tech's a crazy company, not to get sidetracked or whatever. But they're the same people who built the engines for Corvette racing. They're the same people who built the V16 for the Cadillac 16. I know. Extremely Germanic naming nomenclature there. Although one of those V16s did make it into a Yukon, which because they mess around with V12s. A lot of people are doing the LS based V12s. Well, I shouldn't say a lot, but there's people out there. They're nuts. Like, you go on their site and it's like, there's a video, there's a video, there's a video.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to ship that to Doug. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, it's
But yeah, if you want to learn more about this engine, go to the Drive and just search 4-liter Jeep engine, and it'll pop up. Or you can go watch our reel that we produced yesterday on any social platform, and it will be there to give you lots more information. And it was a lot. It was a lot of fun. So very cool engine. But there's also something very cool that I found on the internet. Today I went on the internet and I found this, which is hilarious because of how awesome it is. Apparently, there is a Ute kit to make it totally legal in the United States to take a Chrysler 300 and make it a Ute, which makes sense because Utes exist. Shout out Holden Malou. But didn't think it would be out of a Chrysler 300, quite honestly. And it's pretty sweet. It actually looks awesome. I think it looks really cool. The Chrysler 300, the latter models, the ones that are not too old, obviously, they look cool. The front ends look great with that nice like open grill. Instead of the older grills that are like like they're more closed and they have the bars on them. Those kind of looked like luxurious when they came out, but did not age well. This looks really good, and I think this front end will age very nicely. But it's this is literally a kit you can buy, and you can. It doesn't have to be just a 300. It could be any one of the Mopar platforms, really. Like if the other images on this article, someone did it out of a Challenger or oh sorry Charger. I think it just has to be a 4-door, which is very cool. And I mean, it's not that expensive either, which is crazy to think about. Um, let's see. This says at the end of this article, it says if you want this kit and to turn your Chrysler 300 into a more utilitarian pickup truck at the expense of backseat passenger space, it will cost you $4,490. That does not seem like enough money, in my opinion, for this to be a thing.
I mean, it depends on
It
what
should.
they're.
I feel like it should be more money than that.
I mean, for the kit. I mean, at the end of the day, we're just talking about like fiberglass and shit. Like,
Well, true, true.
um, the
But like the body work and stuff and all.
well, the
I
kit.
mean, it's got
The
to
kit is
double
one.
that.
The kit is one thing. The body work
Sure,
for
sure, sure.
this is you're probably if you take it to a good shop, you're at least $20,000 to $30,000 easy.
That's
Because
that's what I was.
I mean,
Gonna say. I was
I
gonna
got
say
the quote on
15
the
to 20.
Mustang to paint. If I did the front clip swap, and it's not just painting the clip; you have to paint like 2/3 of the car, and there's blending
Yeah,
involved, and it's a real art to it.
yeah. I mean, if you're doing this, you should paint the whole car. Quite frankly.
Oh, without a doubt. What I'm saying is that was like $13,000 to $15,000.
Right. We're also talking about one of the best in the business too, which is going to be a premium.
Right. I mean, well, look, I love this sort of stuff. It sort of reinvigorates, you know, cars that are you kind of don't think about. Even though, like, I think they're still making 300s, or like last year was, or this year or last year was the last
Yeah,
year of them or something.
2023 was the last year, I think.
Which is it. The amount of life that Chrysler got out of this platform is in freaking insane. I mean,
Thanks, Mercedes.
like, yeah, it was what, like a late '90s, early 2000s E class.
Yes, 100%. It's like I think it ended in 2006 or something, E-Class, and then that's exactly when they came out with like the first Charger and Challenger was like 2007, 2008.
And just think
So,
about the mileage they
yeah.
got out of it. The 300, the Charger, the Challenger, which
Oh
led
yeah,
to all of the
crazy.
Hellcats. Well, not all
Mm-hmm.
of them. The SUVs, the not SUVs.
Well, yeah, all of the car variants.
You know, but it's no, I think this stuff's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, it looks good, honestly. The 300 looks really good.
The,
Like the Charger looks cool. Like that, I can see that being sort of like an Americanized, Maloo. I get that. But the 300, I don't know. It looks almost like a slammed truck.
yeah, well, I think
It it's cool.
for this type of thing, I mean, before I get to that, actually, just real quick, nothing says I care about downforce like a splitter with splitter struts and then hacking the back of the car off. Just, just saying.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Let's put more front end downforce on to make the rear end lighter after reducing all of that weight. That's a great idea.
I mean, it's not even like, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that that's actually adding any sort of meaningful downforce or anything like that. Let's just put that off to the
I know.
side for a second. Um, just, but good thing it does have a slight duckbill in the back because airflow. I hate splitter
Yeah,
struts
thank
for the
God.
record, so hard pass on that one.
They make sense on race cars,
They do,
but
but
they don't make sense here.
show me a modern GT race car that uses them.
Oh yeah, I mean no one uses them because
Because
they
splitters
don't
are all
have to.
integrated into the subframe now.
Right, yeah, so there's no need for them anymore.
But I
But
think with
I
this,
mean, they belong on race cars if at all.
so like, I think if you're gonna go the Ute route, the El Camino route, the Rampage, as someone said there, shocked that Doug didn't get to it first. Um, you know, the Ranchero, like all this stuff. I think the boxier the front end is, the better off it is, because it's hard to make a.
Yeah, I agree.
The bed is going to be boxy. So
Yes.
no, look, it goes back to a lot of stuff with car culture. Like, is this like the best? Like, I just keep looking at this and I just keep thinking that you need to make some variation of a Volvo Ute.
I mean, it's been done a lot. Like 240s are constantly hacked up
Polestar
to
Ute.
make Utes, which are cool. I mean, honestly, this would be a great Ute, quite frankly. It's comfy in front, got good seats, and the back seats and the wagon nature of it. If someone like totaled one, and it could be fixed fairly relatively cheap, I think this is a great platform for that, honestly. Are you looking for? So I actually know of one that just got totaled. I'm not sure if it's on Copart, um, but it's not worth it.
Just let it happen.
I like we're real time looking for this.
Of course we are.
If you're listening to this, sorry you can't see this, but because I've mentioned that, Chad is now on Copart looking for wrecked Polestars. Crew cab Volvo Ute. I mean, that would be pretty cool. You know what? You know what would make a great Ute though? For it was a crew cab, a V90, one of the new V90s, because it has good space inside, front and back, and then you just hack off the back and make the wagon like a little mini truck bed. It would look horrible, but that would be the one to do it in.
God, these things are so ugly without Polestar trim. Like
They're not great.
half like mind-numbingly ugly. Anywho,
Well, it depends. It depends because you can make them look better for sure. And I've never said that the P3 is the best looking platform at all. In fact, I was never really a fan until I started shopping for one. And then I'm like, these are pretty nice. But I still think that the P2 platform is far better looking than P3 overall.
overall, yes. Your car grew on me. I
Yeah,
don't.
it's definitely a handsome car, but it is for sure not the best.
It's got to be one of the '80s wagons turned into a Ute. I mean, that seems like the easiest.
Yeah, well, for sure. You're cutting less metal at that
I
point.
still think the best thing Greg can do is to take a 240 wagon body, turn it into a truck, like a pickup truck bed, like etc., and then just body swap a first gen Raptor.
Oh God, that would be. I don't even know if that's possible.
Anything's possible.
I mean, sure, with enough money,
I mean,
but
there's a guy out there taking an S550 Mustang, using a Dodge Charger all-wheel drive system, and making an S550 Mustang with a Coyote all-wheel drive.
yeah, that's true.
This is child's
That's
play.
true.
If we could just leave like all the dashes, it's like it can be done. I mean,
All we need is a sawzall.
if you look right above here, all we got to do is go there to blue sky.
Yes, true, true. Now, where's that lottery at?
Yeah, why haven't you won that yet?
I don't know. I'm still trying. But anyway, you can have a Ute in America, and I'm here for it. I think it's a great call. But there are other things that are coming to maybe I don't know if this is coming to America, but um, Chinese car companies are definitely going to be coming to America within the next 5, 10 years, and I know a couple of them are selling now. I cannot remember the names for the life of me. I know BYD is one of them. But there is a company called Cherry. I think it's part of like a larger conglomerate group
Like the Chinese
that is
government.
bringing a truck. Yeah, yes, the Chinese government. No, it
Communism.
is. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Actually, oh no, never mind. Cherry is one of the lesser known brands, and it's a here we go. It boasts, or where does it say? The series ambitions outside of it boasts a multitude of sub brands. So Cherry is the overarching brand, but it has a bunch of different sub brands called Exceed, Omoda, Jayco, G Tour, and Carry, which is just a bunch of different brands. But they're trying to basically bring small light trucks into the rest of the world, North America aside, to sort of like try to take down the Ford Ranger and the Toyota Hilux. One, good luck. Two, it actually looks really good, and I kind of like it. I mean, not in that color, but in that red. Honestly, that looks. That's what the Hyundai Santa Cruz should look like. Honestly, that's what because that looks excellent, and if I'm cross shopping this as just based on looks, this versus a Ranger or a Hilux, this I think looks better than both of them. But but that's just aesthetics. Like there's a lot to be desired about. Oh well, the Ranger and Hilux are very reliable platforms that have been around since the dawn of time. This has not. So,
There's a reason
but
Toyota
this
pickup trucks
is
are the official vehicle of the third world.
well, right, because they never break. You never have to fix them. And when you do have to fix them, they're insanely cheap to fix. But this is a good indication of what we can possibly expect over the next 5 or 10 years because Chinese companies like Cherry, probably coming from maybe BYD or elsewhere, we're going to start getting things like this, especially when they start making trucks. Because what's the number one truck market in the world as far as light duty pickups, mid-sized pickups, and large pickups all combined?
Pikistan?
No, it's North America. So, yes, I mean, they're probably not going to get much market share here, but any market share is better than
Here's the
zero.
thing. What is
this is their way in.
What is Toyota's market share with the Tundra?
Not a lot, like nine, maybe 10%, maybe.
The Taco has good market share, but that's only because like, over the course of the last I don't know how many years since like the Ranger itself was, um, gone for a while. So the Taco was really and like the Nissan Frontier, which is a fairly unrelenting pile of crap.
Yeah, it's fine, and that's about all we can say about it.
You know, to be kind, it works as a vehicle. But my point
Yeah,
is like,
the new one's much better, but overall,
let me just put it to you. Let
get a
me put it
taco.
to you this way, and I want chat to participate in this game. Picture your average pickup truck buyer.
Hmm. Dolly AI, give me a average pickup truck buyer.
Okay, now imagine being the poor bastard that has to try to sell a Chinese truck to one of these people.
Yeah, that's accurate because those people think that Volvo is a Chinese company. It's not. Um, but yeah, that you're right. That is a very tough sell. And that's why I said, like, if you're gonna try to get into the pickup truck market, this is the market to do it in. However, it's not gonna be an easy sell because the Tundra's been here for how long now? 30 years. And it's still only at 9 or 10% market share. Taco, different story. You might be able to make more headway in the mid-size truck. I think if they're gonna do anything, they should make a shit ton of small pickup trucks, like Maverick sized, because there's nothing there currently. It's literally just the Maverick and the Santa Cruz, and that's it. There are others apparently on the horizon, but like if you want market share, go where there's no market. Like all you got is two options, and we have rumors. That's it. That's all we're going on. So like, if
That's
you're
a
gonna do
market that though.
something,
That's a
do
market
that.
that I foresee in the next 5 years going to be flooded. Just
Yeah, I think so too. But that's like that. I think if you want to do it and get into the North American market, you have to do it there, and you have to do it quickly because you're right. It is going to be flooded.
Doug goes on in chat. He goes, I mean, the same argument went against Japanese trucks. I still heard that when I sold Fords. I mean, yes, but China. There's an extra like, I guess you could sit here and say that 20, 30 years ago, the Japanese stigma, there were still people old enough to like, you know, hey, we went to war with those fuckers, that sort of a thing. But like,
Yeah,
um, Chinese has in most things, right? When you hear Chinese, that most people immediately go to like, it's the wish.com of mid-sized pickup trucks, right? Like they're not
right.
a byword for
Cheap and
they're
unreliable
not a
is what
by
is the mantra there, right?
they're not
Or
a
the
they're not a
mindset, I should say.
byproduct. Here's what I would say to this is that if you're looking to get market share over here, I think a truck is like, hey, this makes obvious sense. They buy more of these than anything else. Yes, but it's also a ferociously loyal marketplace.
True.
They'd be better suited pick a mid-size crossover and do it for $5,000 cheaper. But you
Right.
know, what is it? Sean goes, does anyone remember the Mitsubishi Raider? Yes, I do. It was just the Dodge Dakota with a different body on it. So as crappy as the Dakota
Yep.
was, I had a girlfriend with one of those. My truck's broken again. Okay, just because I have a
Nice.
car YouTube does not mean I am your personal mechanic. But she got me to work on the
Terrible.
vehicle because her solution was, okay, if you're not going to fix my truck, I'm going to drive around my ex-boyfriend's truck. God damn it! None of this is good.
Yeah, not great.
Michael goes, Chevy needs to bring back the S10. I agree. Or Mazda needs to bring back the B Series trucks. I mean, just slap a Mazda badge on a
Yeah.
Ranger and there you go. And then Alan goes, Datsun needs to make a comeback.
Also, yeah.
I agree, but only if it's done right. Like, I see Datsun, if you want to look at, like, a three-pronged attack from Nissan, You know, Datsun was just Datsun was the original name of Nissan, even before we start talking about post-war politics and like and all that. It actually, but if they were able to make inexpensive cars that didn't feel cheap to fit, because like we said before, the average price of a new car is $45,000. It wasn't that long ago that number was 9-10 grand cheaper, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, just the
Only a few years
automotive
ago.
inflation is insane.
Yeah.
If you can bring Datsun back and say have a small sedan that doesn't necessarily win the world over with power, but is fun. Again, I don't know if that's the way. You probably want to go with an inexpensive crossover just because that's what people buy. It sucks, but and as we say here almost weekly, automotive enthusiasm uh, is waning in the younger generations. It would have to be almost think of like how Scion was to Toyota, how Saturn was to General Motors, and everything before they were like, hey, we can do it for cheaper if we just make it some like this other car. You know, base a Saturn sedan off of a Chevy Cobalt, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
You know, that's how Datsun makes a comeback. I mean, Anthony goes, once upon a time, Nissan Z car was a Datsun. Only here. I mean, granted, the Z car was made for here and everything. Funny enough about the Z car, they rejected a proposal because they were told to work with Yamaha, and Yamaha's like, look at this. And they're like, nah. And then that was what kickstarted the, I'm going to forget the name, the Toyota 2000 GT, I think it is, or whatever. The one that was in Bond.
Oh yeah, the gorgeous one from the
Yeah.
60s.
You
Yeah.
know, so, I mean, and that was actually by switching the name over to Nissan, as Anthony was alluding to, that it was Datsun by Nissan. Actually cost that like Nissan as a whole sales because people are like, wait, did Datsun go under? Blah blah blah. Like people didn't understand the whatever that was going on behind the scenes. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But I have long maintained that if they can figure out a way to make a three box, sort of like a modern iteration with the straight kind of angular lines of the 510, I'd be about that. I'd really be about that. You know, not the IDX.
If you're listening, if you're listening, you got one buyer.
So like not
You got at least one,
this thing.
which is cool in its own right. Like they should have made that.
You know,
Honestly, they should have.
oh, without a doubt, it's cool, but I think they went too far. Just modernize three box. You don't have to give it the backwards hat, the cap in the back. You don't have to make,
Yeah.
you know, I understand what they were going for with the front air dam, they harken back to it and everything. But just a basic, you don't have to get crazy with it. Think about how easy boxy body panels would be,
True.
you know? So, but no, but here's the thing. Would that sell? Probably not,
No, no, definitely not.
you know? And that's the thing
Well,
that
it's the same
sucks.
thing with manual transmission cars. Like enthusiasts constantly are like, "Yeah, make more manuals," and then no one buys them.
I mean, not
Like,
for
well,
nothing. Nissan could just go out
they're giving
and
you what you ask for.
well, right. The thing of it is everybody who asks for it can't afford to buy it, regardless of if it
Right.
comes in at like $30,000.
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's like, "Oh, we want more of this." It's like, well, you don't, because if you did, then you'd actually buy it when they make it, which is why we have so many crossovers in the first place, because everyone's just
Well, it's not only that.
buying those
The
and
guy,
they're not
the people
asking
who are
for.
begging for it are like, "Hey, what about in like 6 years time or 3 years time when this thing comes off a lease? I'll be able to afford it for 20K." Well, guess what? They stop
Exactly.
making this stuff if people don't buy them new.
Right. Yeah, you have to buy them now, not used. They don't sell used cars from factory. That's not a thing. You need to actually they buy it and enjoy it when they make it. Period. But anyway, I digress.
All right. No, I mean it's just.
Inception.
Oh, hey, look at that. There we go.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Look at that. Look at that guy.
Look at the. Do you have a Volvo branded snow shovel?
Wait, where?
I don't know, one of your 17
Over
snow
there?
shovels? I don't know. I'm just.
No, I do not. I don't know. I think I got them all at Target and or Walmart. The True Temper one, which is awful. Don't ever buy a True Temper snow shovel. Not like I've used it in 5 years. Then my mother-in-law's one from when she sold her house, and then two green ones. That's it. And they're none of them are Volvo branded.
Yet.
Um, yeah, yeah, yet, yeah, good. That's correct. So let's catch up with chat a little bit since we've been yammering on for a while. Let's
I'll
see.
be right back, Greg.
Yeah, no problem. Brian Dungan Jr., another name I haven't seen in chat here, but also a 5-year anniversary follower. Thanks for following us, Brian. Appreciate it. And thanks for joining and watching. Hope you stick around. We just like talking cars here. So uh let's see. I'm gonna go up a little farther, see what you guys are talking about. Um ba, 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 ba. Correct me if I'm wrong. Alan. By the way, welcome back, Alan. Good to see you again, buddy. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Bond movies only did Jaguar as his cars. I think Chad may be referring to the villain car as the Toyota. I don't remember. I don't know old Bond very well, but the car Chad was talking about was the 2000 GT, which is one of the most beautiful cars ever made. It is staggeringly gorgeous, and I'm not a big old car person. If I had the money, I would own one of those things. It is just fantastic. But anyway, oh, Brian, going back to you, good sir. Love my Nissan. My trans started to go on me at 237,000 miles. Not a bad run for a single transmission, quite honestly. Put a new one in her and she runs beautifully. I mean, 237,000 miles on a single trans. More cars get more than that, sure, but nearly 250,000 miles on one single transmission is a pretty damn good run, honestly. When most of what car manufacturers make the parts of a car to go to is about 100, 150K at most. I think maybe 200 for some Japanese manufacturers because they overbuild them to the hilt. But yeah, 237K, not bad. And then, dude, just slap a new one in and keep it running. That's the way to do it. That's the true way to save the environment, people. You keep the old stuff on the road. All of those minerals have been I can't even think of the word. They've been extracted from the earth already, and they've been forged into cool shit. And you just keep that on the road. That's the best way to keep the environment safe. Buy the old stuff. Keep it on the road. That's the way to do it. What else we got here? Michael Newton. I'm mad Subaru told me I couldn't get my 22 Impreza in manual. Yeah, they're fewer and farther between, my friend. They're not making as much of manuals as they do. But interestingly enough, they have risen in manual sales over. And I just did a reel on this like a month ago, or maybe a month or two ago. In 2021, total sales for all sales in North America were either North America or the US. I forget what the statistic was, but it was 0.7% of all sales were manual cars, which makes sense because no one really makes manuals anymore. And most people buy automatics or what is equivalent to an automatic, dual clutch, whatever. Anything is not a row your own, right? Um, that actually went up in 2023 to I think either 1.7 or 1.9% of total sales. Now you can say that, yeah, there's supply chain issues and stuff, but there were supply chain issues even worse in 2021. So, I mean, manuals might be making a bit of a comeback. And there are benefits to manuals. It's a more engaging driving experience. You are controlling the car a bit more than, than the car is controlling itself. And hate to say it, but it is sort of an anti-theft deterrent or an anti-theft device at this point because not a lot of people know how to drive manuals anymore. So take that information with any grain of salt that you will. What do they do with the test cars? I'm not sure what you're referring to there, Alan. Um, are you talking about the Bond cars you were talking about before, or something else? Let me know. Anthony, I have a gas-powered snow thrower. I could put a Volvo badge on it. Yes, please do. That's the only good course of action there. Anthony, they never use it, then never use it because winter weather fucking forgot Virginia exists. Yeah, there's not a lot of snow this year. We just got dumped on here in New Jersey, but there really hasn't been much, honestly. I don't all the JDM cars, all of them, Alan. Yeah, I mean, not a bad call. Excuse me. Now I got the yawns. 65K on my CVT and it always shudders when taking off. Yeah, that's the thing. Subaru CVTs are hot garbage. And that's literally what Anthony said below, and I didn't even see it. CVTs are hot trash. Yes, Subaru CVTs, specifically on the Impreza, are horrible. They are one of the least interesting and enjoyable driving experiences I've ever had the great displeasure of experiencing. Um, I will say this, and this is huge. I would rather drive at the bottom of my driveway my mother-in-law's Nissan Juke with a CVT than any Subaru made with a CVT, including the WRX. Subaru's CVTs are fucking horrible. They are the worst CVTs in the entirety of the automotive industry. Nissans are only one step up. Nissans are the second worst. Subarus are absolute trash. I've driven all of them as loaner cars when I had my WRX. I've driven them even more modern than that. It is not good. They sound anemic. The way the car is propelled, it does not feel natural. The CVTs fail a lot. It's just if you can avoid a CVT in Subaru, do it. That's just the way to go. They're garbage. They are just absolute garbage. I like Subaru as a brand, but stay away from the CVTs. Blech. Alan, people just don't want to shift. Bums. I know. Lazy. Get a manual. Get manual code. Coming from a guy that doesn't have a manual right now. I have two cars that are being built. One of them, both of them will have manual. Let's see what we got here. Anthony, maybe the abysmal state of CVTs is driving people back to the third pedal. God, I can only hope so. That would be great. Michael, granted it's a CVT and I upgraded the tires to a set of Z-rated tires. I do like how stupid proof it is. Yeah, I mean, sure. Look, the CVT as an idea and as a concept of mechanical engineering makes a lot of sense. Put the car into the turbo band and let it sit there, getting maximum efficiency and boost performance. Cool. That's a very, very good thing when you're looking for something very specific. As far as a daily driver is concerned, it's not necessarily the best option. As a piece of engineering, it is interesting and cool as to how it works, especially on certain applications. There was a um, what's it called? There was a car. It was a 340, a Volvo 340, which had a Renault, I think a Renault engine that our buddy Chris Mercon, shout out if you're watching. I saw you like the stream earlier. He had, and he still has. He owns the car. He had at Carlisle this past year and the year before. It is a CVT driven transmission, rear wheel drive, and I think the CVT is actually at the back of the car. I forget how it was laid out, but it's a wild little setup. But it's that, so things like that are very cool and interesting because it's just an interesting engineering design and engineering exercise. But like in a modern application, trying to make CVTs work, to like get better efficiencies, it's not really. I don't know. I don't I'm not aligned with that thinking. It doesn't make sense. Planetary gear sets, especially when we have 10-speed transmissions, CVTs make literally no sense. You don't need a freaking CVT. Is that the F1 CVT?
Yes, that is the Williams F1 car with the CVT, and I think I'm going off of memory here. I did a video on this, but it's was like 2 seconds a lap faster than the conventional gear set one. But it turns
Yeah.
out F1 engines don't like being in optimal power band always.
Gee, I wonder why.
So the engines hated it, but like this is also one of
Maybe it's because they don't want to be stressed in every second of the race.
it also like it also is crazy to me that like back in the day Williams was the one pushing all of the technological boundaries. You know, they were the one who came up with adaptive
Yeah,
suspension. They were the ones who were
Mm-hmm.
trying this, and now they're like, oh god, if we're only 5 seconds slower than the fastest car, that's a win. Yay. Hey, look, Haas sucks just as much as we do. Woo.
Oh man. Yeah, so I think we're all in agreement here that CVTs suck.
Uh, I remember when they first came out and driving it, and it just felt like someone who was new to driving a manual was just riding the clutch. And after
Hmm.
that, no matter what the benefits of fuel economy or performance or theoretical blah diddy blah diddy blah diddy blah diddy blah diddy blah, um, I was just like, my brain can't just get over the fact that this sounds like I've been trained that this is awful. Like, release the clutch already. Like, so
Yes, agree. Yeah, the wee is no thanks. It's not enjoyable at all.
you know, just real quick while we have a moment, and we have most of our regulars and some new faces, which is always awesome. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but right below me,
Oh yes, that's right.
we're going to be starting next week, flush with for guests for at least the next 3 weeks, hoping at least four. We have some very interesting guests and a couple Toyota guys coming on, and if
Ooh,
schedules
yes, and
and if schedules align and things work out, the triumphant return of the one and only Mr. Hansen. So
the Hanson.
the Hansen, some would say he's hot right now.
That's Hanson. He's so hot right now.
So some pretty exciting stuff up for the next coming weeks. You're definitely guys are definitely not going to want to miss it. Should be a lot of fun. But yeah, we're getting back into guests, and then not that we weren't. You know, last week we had Elliot back on the show. We're gonna have Elliot Alvis again, beginning of next month, which should be pretty. Which is always an awesome time.
Yeah,
Elliot might
he's
become
great.
something of a reoccurring guest. So if you like Elliot, come on down the first Wednesday of next month. The date. The,
Yep. And,
the date is.
and if you don't like
here.
Elliot, too bad.
Right here. Right here.
And if you're listening to us, we will be having Elliot back on March the 6th. We're going to have a gentleman by the name of Jeff Teague from Toyota Jeff Reviews on the 21st of February, and Jack Gale from Jack's Automotive on February the 28th. So join us again on those dates for a stream on Facebook and our second YouTube channel, Shifting Lanes Garage, or just wait for it to be released on Spotify and or Amazon, and then enjoy the wonderful tones of all of us yelling over each other about car things.
Yes, loud noises, rabble, 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 all of that.
Yes.
So, Greg, what's our next bit of news?
Yes. Ooh, I think we should talk about, I think, two more bits of news, and then we might call it for the night, guys. But these two bits of news are very interesting. The first one I think we should talk about is something about Kia. And no one leave, please, because this is interesting. Because Kia makes an EV.
Nothing says quality
that
content
is-
like, please don't leave. No, anyway, continue.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, please, please don't leave. We need you. We love you. No, Kia makes an EV called the EV6, and the EV6 GT is quite powerful, as you can get with a lot of these EVs these days. It has over 600 horsepower in a Kia, which is just awesome in itself. But apparently, there is a new Kia coming out called the EV8, and it's apparently a successor to the Kia Stinger, which I'm happy about because I hated the Kia
It's
Stinger.
one of your all-time most favoriteest cars.
It is the car that Kia should have made, not the EV8, but the whole story of the Stinger is they had the Stinger GT as a concept. It was a two-door concept, which they should have made. Stupid Kia. Then they decided to make a four-door sedan that was quick, which was all well and good, but everyone knew that the sedan was going away. Everyone was starting to kill them off. And Kia's like, hey, look at this cool new sedan. Nobody cared. You know what people would have cared about? A two-door cool sports car as a halo car to bring people into dealerships to sell your crossovers. Hey, who's doing that? Porsche and Ford. They seem to be doing really well. Maybe Kia should have taken a note. Either way, the Stinger as we knew it is dead. And now we have this thing potentially coming out as a replacement, which is the EV8, which will have, according to what they're saying, 603 horsepower and 500 miles of range, according to a leaked document, which is very impressive. 600 horsepower from an EV, not as impressive. EVs can get pretty up there these days into the 2,000 horsepower range. But again, Kia with over 600 horsepower, pretty cool. 500 miles of range, however, very impressive because that is something that we don't really see really at all. Chad, what do you think about this?
I mean, yay, a sedan, not a crossover. I mean, if this is
True.
what it looks like, yes. I mean, it's got the, hey, I'm an EV, but it still has a lot of normal carness to it.
Yeah.
And I really hope they call it the Stinger just to hear you say, I really want to drive a Stinger.
I still don't want to drive this. No thanks. There's like 1,000 cars I'd rather drive than this.
But I mean, let's put it this way: if it's an EV6 in sedan form, we know what the EV6 can do. You're gonna threaten people in Lamborghinis in a quarter, and
definitely,
but it goes back to that old. It goes back to that old thing with EVs is the fact that like until you can make them more of a visceral experience, they don't really do it. And you could sit here and talk about all the things with EVs. Like I think someone mentioned something about batteries and stuff like that. Like, look, the technology is very well sorted, well regulated, and things like that. I mean, where the batteries are coming from is another story entirely. But like, look. The thing so remember that like N74 concept that Hyundai's making?
Oh yes, that thing is
So like
utterly phenomenal.
So
looking.
that is the benefit, and we have talked about it ad nauseum here. The benefit to the EV, the skateboard kind of methodology or line of thinking is that you can make any car you want on a platform. And the level of engineering doesn't really the level of engineering you don't have to like completely re-engineer a whole car. It's like we knew about the Alpha platform with GM for forever, and they put a bunch of cars on that. This is even simpler than that. So it's look, it's an EV. So like it's gonna have great performance. It's gonna be fun to drive. It just looks like it has a little bit of a Hofmeister kink to it. Has a wisp of Civic Type R to it. It's hard for me to get excited about EV stuff. If they put a internal combustion engine in it and it was all-wheel drive, even if it was just a carryover of that 3.3 liter or whatever it is, turbocharged 6, with a manual this time and not an automatic, I'd get a little more excited. But then again, I'm not the people they care about. You know, enthusiasts like us, I'd hate to say it, but they just don't. Manufacturers don't really care what we want because we're not driving the market. And people who want EVs, people who want crossovers, those are the people who are driving the market. Michael, I sent you I replied a DM to you about your buddy with the car show. I have yet to see a response. So if you want to have him reach out, whether it be to Shifting Lanes or myself personally, I'd be happy to talk with him. I just haven't heard anything from him. Just to kind of cover that. Let's see here. Breaking my computer. There we go. Greg is back. Welcome back, Greg. How you doing?
Hello, I'm here.
Yeah.
Yay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean this is an interesting car. It's just interesting because it has an Elliot, welcome Elliot, by the way, said quote unquote estimated range, which is, that's accurate. It's not 100%, but it should have a ginormous battery, which is interesting. And just like 600 horsepower cars in general, like, it's pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting in the sense that the Stinger is getting replaced, and Kia is bringing an EV sedan to the fray. It's not, again, like you said, it's not another crossover, and we'll see how it does. I think it's just an interesting note that they're chucking their hat into the EV sedan market when a lot of people are pulling out of it. So we'll see, or not pulling out of it, but scaling back is a better term. So we'll see how it goes for him. Gonna be interesting.
Pulling out is a bit premature.
Solid joke.
Here's the last thing I'll say about EVs. I don't mind EVs when it's an option. When they try to start cramming EVs down our throat and say, all cars must be EV by X date or this percentage by this date. When they start trying to force it down that's when I take massive exception to it. And I think that's where the genesis of a lot of people's exception to it. If it's an option, like Anthony was sitting here saying, like, don't mind it. It have to be something interesting, but don't mind it. Like, that's fine. But if you're going to sit here and tell me that I have to drive one if I want a new car, that's when I push back with, like, have you really thought this out? Have you really actually talked to people who have a clue? Because a lot of we'll just say, legislation is done by people who don't have a fucking clue on the subject matter. Arguably one of the biggest problems we currently face as a country is the people in charge are like, no, this sounds like a great idea and it'll get me votes for the next term and I'll be here until I'm 98 years old and only work 180 days out of the year, blah, 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 and all this other fucking nonsense and everything like that. Like, that's where I take exception to it. So, look, if they want to make...
By the way, that goes for both sides.
Oh, I'm not... I'm being exceptionally bipartisan.
No, I know you're not. I'm just saying, like, that is both sides.
I mean...
None of them know what they're doing.
And we've created a political landscape to where a lot of the political positions are unappealing to anyone of... I don't want to say there's of the generation of the populace, but when you have people in Congress who are pushing 75, 80 years old, it's time for them to go. Like, how many multi-billion-dollar corporations have it written into their bylaws that once a CEO or a CFO or someone of like a high-ranking executive hits 65 years old, board of directors of like hospitals and stuff, same basic thing. Once you hit 65, thank you for your service. You'll be retiring now.
Yeah, go retire, go away.
And yet, arguably, the people making the most important decisions aren't. You know.
Yeah, or they are and making poor ones.
Well,
So,
they're
and
either
that's especially
they're,
true, and it's not just the EV realm, but it's the majority of the automotive realm. Um, the legislators in Washington, they don't, and it's not like they have to be car people. Like they just have to have a basic understanding of how the car and automotive industry works, and none of them do. Not a single one of them on either side. They don't, none of them get it. And it's supremely frustrating. And the most frustrating thing to me about it is, and this goes way beyond the political discussion of it, is you are supposed to make this decision on a car, and this even goes down to like a dealer level, right? You're supposed to make the second biggest purchase of your entire life is arguably the car you drive next to housing, right? You're supposed to make this decision based on this 10-minute test drive. And that's sort of how politicians look at the automotive industry. They take 10 minutes, they look at as bit of whatever they're reading about it, and they make a decision on it. They have zero backing as far as what knowledge should be on the topic, and they don't understand the automotive industry as a whole, and that is a huge disservice to so many people because this is the second largest purchase of people's lives. And the people making the laws about them don't have a goddamn clue how to make laws about them. And that goes beyond EVs. That's not just an EV argument. It's just an argument of just like they all are just idiots. There needs to be someone that actually gets it, and there isn't a
right,
single
but
one.
that goes back to what I'm saying is you've created positions that nobody. Let me put it this way: the person of sufficient intelligence is going to sit there and say, I could do this job where literally everything I've ever done is going to be brought up and dragged through the mud. Everything I do or say
Right.
is going to be overanalyzed, mostly taken out of context, and I'm going to constantly have to defend, you know, saying the simplest of things and it being woefully misconstrued. Like, so what you end
Yeah.
up with are
I'm a,
people who are doing it for the wrong reasons. You know, it's like best way I can describe it is if you've ever sat on any sort of like town board or HOA association or like a PTA or a sports parents thing, there are people who are doing it for the right reasons, you know, whether it be the benefit of the community, whether it be to help the kids. And then there's the other people who are like, power.
yeah, well, that's the real thing there. It's all just a power grab at the end of the day. Especially
You know,
especially with people in Congress and senators. They're just like, well, I can shape, I these what is it, 400 plus in Congress, 100 what is it, 100 how much in Senate? 100 in the Senate?
102.
100, is it 102 or is it 100?
It's two per state plus two for the Washington, D.C.
Okay, so that's 530-ish, 530-ish.
Feckless morons.
Right. But that amount of people are making the laws for 350 million people.
It's not even that. It's not even that because
Obnoxious.
most of them are shapes to the committee.
Well,
So
yeah, correct.
there's an automotive research committee and it's like 10 or 12 of them. I'm not
Oh,
saying
yeah.
that's the actual number. And they're the ones who are like,
And those
here
people
are
are
our
just appointed.
findings.
They're not like, hey, do you know anything about cars? It's like, no, you're just going to go be on this committee. Have fun.
You know, meanwhile, there's a guy there like, I remember when we used horses. Yeah, you should probably go die now.
I don't like them explosion machines.
I remember
Yeah.
when the TV had 3 channels and you had to get up to change the channel. Sir, please leave.
Yeah, correct.
Nurse.
But anyway,
But at any
political
rate,
discussion aside,
all that aside, it's look, if you want an EV, you should be able to get them. They make enough of them. If you don't, doesn't bother me none.
correct.
Doesn't.
Correct.
I just do what you want to do. That sort of because I tell
Yeah.
you what, and this is the last political thing I say. If they sit here and say, line in the sand, there will be X amount, 100% EV adoption by this date, I will be the first one organizing the second ever, we'll call it Tea Party, where I start shoving EVs into the Boston Harbor.
Yes.
You know, but at any rate,
I have non-EV news if we want to talk about that,
go
which is
right
the
ahead.
last thing, which is the last thing. Apparently, it was said today and then immediately retracted that the M5 wagon will be coming to the United States, but it might not be, according to the exact same source. However, this is excellent news because Mercedes has been here all along with the E63 AMG wagon. Audi brought the RS6 here for the first time in 2020, 2019, recently. And now we're going to get an M5 wagon, definitely for the rest of the world. And I'd say it's probably like 70-80% coming to the US because look, if Mercedes and Audi are in the market, you sure as hell can bank on BMW being in that market too. So, I mean, an M5 wagon, that's pretty freaking fantastic. It looks good according to this render. Obviously, they've been pushing it around the Nürburgring because German. Um, but also BMW does that all the time with every one of their performance cars. So it's looking good that the M5 wagon is coming to the States. I think that's a huge win because now we have the makings of an actual wagon war and a performance wagon war, which is where we should have been this whole time. Because wagons are better than crossovers in every conceivable humanly functional way. They give you better handling. They give you just as much cubic footage. They are faster. They are better looking. The end. We need an M5 in an M5 wagon in the States. Full stop.
I mean, I will always be an advocate for fast wagons because they offer all the fun of a sports sedan, none of the drawbacks of a crossover. They're, I mean, even let's just say you start to bring back normal everyday wagons.
Right.
You take a crossover, say you take the exact same driveline, same engine, same transmission, all-wheel drive, two-wheel drive, whatever. Squat it down into a wagon, and guess what? It's going to go through the air better. What does that mean? Better fuel efficiency.
Right. I mean, Elliot, you're 100% correct. Yes, very biased in this as I sit in front of a performance wagon. Yes, but it's true though. Like at their core, what are crossovers? They are just lifted hatchbacks. What are SUVs? They are just lifted wagons. The end. That is all they are if you boil it down. I'm so passionate about this topic because
Well, it
everyone
depends on
like
where you want to go with SUV.
there's a
If we're talking about body on frame SUV, then no, they're not a lifted wagon.
well, no, correct. But most SUVs produced right now are not body on frame.
Well, you see
They
they're getting
are
away from the
unibodies.
S in SUV. Like I saw,
Yeah.
I think it was during the commercial, the Super Bowl actually. Oh, sorry, big game. Don't demonetize me.
Wait, we're not allowed to say that
I'm not
now?
allowed to say super thing that goes after toilet. That's why
Wait,
everything.
why?
Dude, I'm telling you, go search for like best commercials, all this stuff. It's all gonna be big game stuff. The big game,
No,
I call this. Yeah.
that's really stupid. What is it? Is it trademarked?
Oh, yeah. Very. Um,
Right, but it's also lexicon too. So it's not like, I mean, just saying the word should be fair use. E- at any rate, super serial apparatus,
soup
whatever.
vessel.
Yeah.
But
a
they're
good
getting
one.
away from the SUV nomenclature and they're just calling them UVs because they're not sporty. They're just utility
Well, I
vehicles.
mean, that's I mean, that's
The
accurate. I
SUV
actually
would the
don't mind
SUV
that
was the body
nomenclature
on
at
frame
all.
stuff that actually had off-roading capability. Not to say that these
Right, which
crossovers
is where
can't
the
go
whole
off-road,
sport part of
but
that came in.
show me a crossover where the designers gave two shits of a thought to approach and departure angles. Because they don't.
Well, well, right, but like, but my whole point is this, like, small crossovers. Take the Volvo XC40 for
I
example.
know
What
I'm
is
being overly I'm
that?
being overly pedantic to just
No, I know. No, I know, but like, but I'm just trying to get back to like what I'm saying. Like the Volvo XC40, what is that? It's literally just a lifted Golf GTI. That's all it is. It's the same freaking thing, just with a higher center of gravity. It's all it is. And everyone has been sold this bill of goods that these vehicles are safer. They're not. They're not safer. All they are is giving you a better, quote unquote, which is not correct, driving position, which is also incorrect because you're more disconnected to the road. A Golf GTI is a fantastically better car to drive and to be safer in than a Volvo XC40 as far as driving dynamics is concerned. But it's the same thing with wagons. You get utility, you get closeness to the road, you get connectedness to the road without having to be in this giant UV or whatever it is. But but even it just bothers me that so many people overlook like hatchbacks and wagons to be like, yeah, well, I need the SUV, I need the crossover. Like, no, you don't. When are you actually using that space? All people do with those cars is shuttle their kids places and go to the grocery store, maybe go to Home Depot and get a couple grocery bags worth of stuff. You can do that in literally any car. You can do that in your Mustang. You don't need a freaking crossover to do that. And this is the hill I die on. Like, I don't mind SUVs and crossovers. I don't. I own an SUV. I have a Volvo XC90. It's great. It has lots of space and it's wonderful. But we don't necessarily need it. A Volvo V90 would do the exact same thing. It's just people have been fed this bill of goods to say that higher driving position equals more command of the road. It's not. It's not. You are not safer. You are not having a command of the road. Most people with taller center of gravity are going to crash in an emergency scenario where you have to do sort of a moose test thing. A wagon, it's not happening.
crossovers aren't doing well on the Moose test. Nothing does well on the Moose test short of something Volvo. Just a couple things to chat.
I mean, all the Porsches do well. I will say that.
That's because they're using German Mies. But Anthony goes, Chad, you're wrong. There were a ton of body on frame wagons. Yeah, I'm talking about the last like 25 years.
Yeah.
Obviously there's big sedans were body on frame 50 years ago. Like, yes, I am keenly aware of like that sort of stuff. What I'm saying is within our adult life, well, I'll even narrow it down to that. There hasn't been a body on frame. And then I forget, let's see here. Alan goes, so if they did that, then they can get rid of the sport packages they offer for said SUVs. No, call it a UV and then make them buy the sport back. Come on. You got to think like an executive. That's just business thing 101 right there. I mean,
yeah, that's what.
Let's
that's what
remove
they
a
would do,
feature
of
and
course.
then make them pay more for it to get it back.
Yeah.
I.e.
The first one that will happen in that is the BMW X5 hashtag pay for your own heated seats.
Well, I just call it the Comcast business method. Let's see here.
Also true.
Elliot goes, Elliot Manning, it depends on Bronco or Wrangler aren't lifted wagons, but a Crosstrek and Outback are definitely lifted wagons. Yes, 100%. We're blaming Subaru for the crossover craze. It's right there. If you want command of the road, buy a Dodge Ram. Newsflash, they are.
If you want command of the road, buy an H1 Hummer. That's command of the road. Nothing is going to get near you for fear of one, you running it over, And two, it takes up an entire lane on the highway.
Right, but unless you do a Duramax swap on it, the thing will struggle to do 60. Alan, my point
Well,
is
yeah,
is
that's
that
true.
if you have a UV, now you can have the sport package. So now you get the S back in SUV. So it's something more they can offer you. It'd be like, what's the best way? It's like,
I think Alan's talking about the big game.
uh, but it's, to not say, but it's trade. Yes, I mean, yes, go and like listen to any broadcast during or leading up to it when they talk about their trivia or any of that. If a bar or a restaurant sits here and says they have SB, come join us for our SB party, or come join us for this. Like the NFL can and a lot of times has gone after these people. That's why if you drive by like a restaurant or something, join us for the big game party. The big game trivia, the big game. At any rate,
So dumb.
here's
So
what I'll sit
dumb.
here and say. I'm all for wagons making a comeback. I think I think they're poised to do so, but here's the one thing for crossovers, and as Greg and I can both attest to, because we just recently had back issues. Like people my parents' age or my mom's age, crossovers are just way easier to get in and out of. Full stop.
Also true.
So I'm just gonna propose it that when I come to power, show the ARP card, get your crossover. Everyone else buy a wagon.
Yeah, that I'm perfectly fine with that. All the people 65 plus can have crossovers. If you're not 65, you need a wagon, and that's what you have to have. You are not allowed to have a crossover. The end. Fully on board with that.
And on that note of the rosy future you all have with Greg and I in power, Greg clearly as the vice president.
I was just gonna say I'm very cool with being vice president.
Oh my gosh, I said
But very much a figure, very much a figurehead.
I said
At
the
that
word
point.
back.
Oh no! All right. Well, I think what Chad's getting at is Chad's back is locking up, and we're all real tired. But next week, it's gonna be lit because we're gonna have guests, and it's gonna be awesome. But I think that's gonna do it for tonight because we went through a whole bunch of different topics, had some great conversation, and you guys were awesome as always.
So thank you so much for watching, and